Among the many specialty items presented in the Kralovetz collection are dollhouses and dollhouse furniture and miniatures. And here is a highlight of them. It is known as Bernadine's Dollhouse. And again, seeking provenance, this house has all of it. It's wonderful. The house was actually built in Hackensack, New Jersey by Joseph Zumbusch. He constructed the entire house out of fine walnut. It's in 2 different sections and has shingles on, has 1,200 handmade shingles on the roof. Each one of them are about 1 and 1.5 inch in size, and all made by him, and then literally shingled the roof. Look at it's made as one of the cabinet style dollhouse, which makes it very, very lovely, and has 4 opening doors at the front and the gable windows at the side. After the house was built, he enlisted the aid of his stepfather, William Frank, who was a Civil War veteran, calling in mind, once again, this house was built in the 1870s, and he fashioned and made every piece of the furniture that is in the house. He made them all by hand. And if you look carefully at many of the pieces, you'll see all of the wonderful inlay work and the detail of carving that appears on them, which is so notable and makes it completely different than any other furniture that you might see acquired at this time from a commercial source or from another craftsperson. Very, very unique. Then, on top of it, he enlisted the aid of his sister, Bernadine. And Bernadine was the aunt of the young child for whom this house was being made, who was also named Bernadine. Well, Aunt Bernadine came in, and her job was the curtains, the upholstery, some of the costumes for the dolls, anything fabric-oriented that had to be made to accommodate, to finish off the house, to give it really a home looking. And then finally, to call the house a home, the finishing touches were needed. And for these, the Zumbusch family turned to the New York toy store of F.A.O. Schwartz, from which they acquired the dollhouse people who lived there, along with chandeliers, dishes, decorative prints and porcelains, and even a Christmas tree. Upon its completion, the house was proudly labeled with a plaque which appears on the front of it and says, B. Zumbusch, 1870. It is Bernadine's Dollhouse. The house remained in the Zumbusch family for more than 90 years. In the early 1960s, Bernadine Zumbusch moved from the family estate, but not before providing a handwritten history of the house, which we're showing you, its makers, and its very detailed contents. The dollhouse was acquired by Helen Brewer, a doll collector in nearby Pelham, New York, and soon thereafter, Lenore Thomas of Arizona became its new owner. The house resided in a corner of Lenore Thomas's doll room for several decades until her passing, when it was then acquired by Mickey Hayes, who was Sandy Kralovetz's partner, and then Sandy Kralowetz herself, from whose estate it is now being offered to the next fortunate collector. The house is still as original and still as complete as when made 150 years ago. Unbelievable. So important was the house considered that it was written about by Flora Gill Jacobs in her 1965 edition of the book, A History of Dolls' Houses, in which she described the house as a magnificent specimen with original dolls and furnishings in virtually mint condition. Folks, dollhouses with a documented and continuous provenance are so rare. You know what it's like if you want to collect dollhouses, because sometimes your whole idea is that you want to furnish it yourself. You want to choose the pieces and rearrange them and add the accessories and put in the dolls. But in the back of your mind is also, I wish I could find one that was totally original, exactly the way it was when it was first made. It's almost impossible. I know from all of the houses that come our way, I'll always look at them and say, well, is this original? And you very quickly look at them and realize that no, they've gained a life of their own over the years from the different people that have owned them. Not so Bernadine's Dollhouse. This house is completely original. And dolls with a documented and continued provenance are so rare. This is particularly true when the house retains its original and uniquely made furnishings as well. So as an example of superb craftsmanship and with a detailed chart of every object in each room of the house when originally furnished, and with documented family history, including a provenance that was handwritten by Bernardine Zumbusch in 1953 when she sold the house, it remains today as an exceptional visual study of American childhood history. And I want to tell you what I think this is history. This is so important. And every single piece that was in that house originally is listed in one of these framed papers that we've shown you. And we literally went down that list and checked off. And yes, every single piece is still there. This is an absolute treasure. This is a wonderful house. And you may think it's big, but it's not big because it fits very snugly against a wall because it's a cabinet house. And those are the best kind to have. So this is one of the wonderful many, many categories. You will find that the Sandy and Richard Kralovetz collection of dolls and toys and playthings is exciting. It's wonderful. It crosses so many categories. And I've just dwelled mostly on the French dolls here today. But believe me, there are early porcelains. There are wonderful early cloth and Kathy Cruz and so much in the way of Christmas and Christmas tree arrangements and playthings and toys. You will have a wonderful time. We're so pleased to be able to return this collection back to Scottsdale, where Sandy first started collecting it, and many of her friends, hopefully, who came to her shop and got to know her and entered the field of collecting dolls through her tutorship will have one more chance to enjoy seeing these, as well as all of you who are newer collectors since that time. Thanks so much for listening. Hope to see you soon.